It's lights out, away we go. That is a brilliant start from Maldonado. He's already passed Raikkonen, who's passed Kobayashi, was a bit sluggish. And there's Lewis Hamilton slewing into the wall. And oh dear, Roman Grosjean and Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton all coming to grief at
Roman Grosjean's race ban in 2012 was followed by 12 years of silence in F1, until this year when Kevin Magnussen reminded us of what it means to receive a race ban.
Kevin Magnussen has earned himself the dubious honour of becoming the first F1 driver to be banned from a race since Romain Grosjean in 2012. 12 years since we last saw an F1 driver benched for poor on-track behaviour.
What does this mean for Kevin Magnussen and the other drivers who were banned? This is what happened to banned F1 drivers. Let's take it back to the times that you probably have not started watching Formula 1, the 1978 Italian Grand Prix.
Ball number 5 next to him is Villeneuve in car number 12. Villeneuve gets it on the start. The green light on. They are racing at Monza. Villeneuve, the Ferrari, has the lead. Andretti is second. Peterson is dropping back in the field as they head for that tunnel. There's an accident! There's a big crash!
That accident was caused by Riccardo Patrese, a driver known for his aggressive racing style who had pissed so many drivers off in the same season. At the start of this race, Patrese overtook James Hunt, and that caused Hunt to veer into the right rear wheel of Ronnie Peterson's Lotus. Apart from Peterson, about 6 other drivers were caught up in the incident. However, the one who suffered the most severe impact was Peterson, whose car flew into the barriers and caught fire. Peterson was stuck in the car as it burned, but fortunately he was freed by Hunt, Clay Regazzoni, and Patrick Depailler before he was completely burned. By the time he was removed from the car, he had suffered 27 fractures to his legs and feet. Initially, everyone rejoiced that the injuries were not life-threatening, but once in the hospital, Peterson was diagnosed with fat embolism and died the next day. Several drivers took matters into their own hands by informing the organizers that they would withdraw from the race if Patrese was not banned, and so he was withdrawn from the race. He was initially banned for a year, but this ban was reduced to 1 month after a while. That was definitely worth a year ban because of how crazy the crash was. But you see, in the 1989 Portuguese Grand Prix, Nigel Mansell's got a ban for something really childish.
You can see if Martini goes by before Mansell comes out, in which case the Italian will be in the lead.
Yes, Terry Bootson has put up a new fast start to the race on fresh tyres, and there's confusion now. Mansell's missed his pitch. This is a disaster for Nigel Mansell.
Yep, he got a 1-race ban after ignoring a black flag for reversing in the pit lane. Mansell had locked up coming into the pits, and instead of driving through his mechanics, he chose to drive around them. According to Mansell, he didn't see the black flag, or a Ferrari pit board. He also said that he could not hear radio messages because of how loud his engine volume was. This happened at a time when he was battling with Ayrton Senna, which led to both drivers' collision, and that eventually kicked them out the race. According to the FIA, Mansell had been driving under a black flag and took out a championship contender. For that, he earned himself a 1-race ban. Mansell, however, was not replaced with another driver for the Spanish Grand Prix. He raced alongside Gerhard Berger, but the same can't be said about the 1994 Brazilian Grand Prix, where Eddie Irvine lost his seat to Aguri Suzuki to the Pacific Grand Prix. It all started when Eddie caused a 4-car collision on lap 35.
34, Verstappen and Irvine are trying to lap Bernard, and all are bearing down on a slowing Brundle. Amazingly, no one is seriously...
Eddie had suddenly swerved to avoid Martin Brundle's McLaren, which had suffered engine failure. With his actions, he forced Jos Verstappen onto the grass. Jos lost control and flew over the top of Martin Brundle, damaging his helmet. Eric Bernard's car also got caught up in the crash as he tried to avoid the collision, and in the end, they all suffered the impact. For that, Eddie was given a 1-race ban and fined $10,000. In my opinion, maybe he should have walked away with that, but he appealed instead. His appeal was then rejected, and in return, he got an extended 3-race ban. The FIA did that to ensure that no other team would think of appealing against Stewart's rulings. Eddie then claimed that the crash was not his fault and that it happened because Martin Brundle's McLaren stopped. He also said that his battle with Ayrton Senna had influenced the officials, but in the end, his seat was given to Aguri Suzuki for the Pacific GP, before Andrea De Cesaris climbed into the Jordan for both San Marino and Monaco races. I guess other drivers took note and learned from Eddie's mistake, because during the 1994 British Grand Prix, Mika Häkkinen dared not appeal when he got his ban. He was given a 1-race ban and was suspended for 3 races, alongside Rubens Barrichello for a last lap collision at the 1994 British GP. However, this ban was not necessarily because of that crash, but was triggered at the beginning of the German Grand Prix when he caused a multiple car collision at the first corner. Häkkinen made contact with David Coulthard Williams and spun across the field, taking out several cars in the process. During that first lap alone, there were 11 retirements involving 10 drivers and crashes before the first corner. As mentioned earlier, he accepted the penalty and didn't bother to appeal. We're moving on to the next ban, but sorry to break it to you, the race ban is not done with 1994, and it may shock you that it is still the 1994 British Grand Prix. This time, it was Michael Schumacher, and he didn't just get a one race ban, but two, missing both the Italian and Portuguese Grand Prix. He received this penalty for overtaking Damon Hill on the formation lap and then violated again after an aborted start.
In the pits for long enough, I think what Berger did, and that looks, Schumacher's off, Schumacher's lost time, yeah. Hill goes by.
Oh, out goes Schumacher, the Germany's...
Back in 1994, the regulations said that the first offense should have resulted in Schumacher starting from the back of the grid, but the British GP officials were unaware of these rules. He was given a penalty on lap 13, but there was a bit of confusion and he was penalized 5 seconds. Also, he was supposed to serve the penalty in the pit lane, but he didn't. Finally, he ignored the black flag, which indicated that he must return to the pits, claiming that he didn't see the flag, but his number. Benetton decided to appeal the verdict, but it was rejected, and so Schumacher's 2-race ban was upheld by the FIA, forcing him to miss the Italian and Portuguese Grand Prix. However, the next driver's race ban was quite a unique situation. 1997 Japanese Grand Prix. Now, you must agree the 3-year race ban silence was well deserved after how much 1994 served, but this comeback isn't even your regular race ban. At the time, Jacques Villeneuve was leading the championship by 9 points, from Schumacher with 2 races left. He had qualified on pole for the Japanese Grand Prix, but he got disqualified ahead of the race because he had failed to slow at the Spoon curve during Saturday's practice session when passing Jos Verstappen. He wasn't the only one though, but he had committed the same offense on 3 other occasions, which means a suspended ban was already looming. He was then given an immediate ban for the next race, which was the Japanese GP, as it had not taken place. William appealed the decision and, surprisingly, he was allowed to take part in the race from his pole position and he finished 5th. However, for some reason, Williams withdrew its appeal and Villeneuve was disqualified from the result. Next is 2002 Italian Grand Prix. This race ban is technically not an official race ban. Felipe Massa was forced to miss the 2002 US GP due to technicalities in the grid place penalty regulations. Massa was handled a 10-place grid penalty during the Italian GP for causing a collision with Pedro de la Rosa's Jaguar. That way, both of them were forced to retire from the race. After an investigation into the case, Massa was found responsible and was handed the 10-place grid penalty, becoming the first driver to receive such. However, because the 2002 regulations stated that the penalty affected the next race and not the driver's next race, Sauber avoided serving the penalty by removing Massa from the US Grand Prix. Fast forward to the 2012 Belgian Grand Prix, where Romain Grosjean was handed a 1-race ban and fined 50,000 euros. That's a lot, right? Well, he had an incident-packed season with 7 early race clashes in the first 12 contests. This culminated in a multi-car crash, sending Romain himself airborne over the top of Alonso's car before coming to a stop against the outside wall. Romain admitted that he was at fault, but he said that he didn't mean to cause a crash. The stewards then awarded him a 1-race ban for the following week's Italian GP. In the end, he was replaced by Jerome D'Ambrosio for the 2012 Italian GP. After that, we had almost forgot about a race ban until the 2024 Italian Grand Prix. Kevin Magnussen became the first driver in the penalty point era, which started in 2014 and to have gathered enough points to trigger a 1-race ban. He got his 2 final points at the 2024 Italian Grand Prix for causing a collision with Pierre Gasly at turn 4, taking his tally to 12 in 12 months. He was then replaced by Oliver Behrman at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. George Russell, the director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, believes that the race ban had a positive impact on races, and added that it may be a bit harsh, but things shouldn't go unpunished.